So this channel is Gene Decode's channel, and this is a live stream that he did 4 days ago. And I want you to listen to this. They're talking about the Earth grid being dismantled, and he's talking about this structure of energy harvesting, like a hijack grid structure that's underneath the ground. So I want you to listen to this part. It's pretty interesting.
We're moving into, I suppose, when was humanity, and maybe how many times or evolutions has there been where humanity was living, or we were living in our full potential, or are we going somewhere where we've never been before? Does that make sense? If you could
Absolutely pouring
yes,
here.
So even at 64 strands, we were not at our full potential. It was not all completely harmonic and in full activation, in harmony with all that is. And that was at the beginning of creation. So that's why we were created, to be able to grow. So part of the purpose of life is to grow in your service to others and all life everywhere, and in self-awareness, and into all understanding all that is to the limit of capacity that you have as an individual, filament or fragment or facet of the Holy Spirit and the light and of the Holy Spirit and of the Word and of the creation itself.
Wow. Thank you for that. So that, Scott, go ahead, please.
Yeah, well, I'm just wondering if we go back, like we talked about the Pyramid Wars, this is well before, Christ or any of that. What,
This is when Lyra,
it's told biblically, but,
Stargate, I
where
think,
were
was
we at that
dismantled, is when they're
point? Was that
talking about
before
it,
the
according to
Archonic
Keylontic material.
forces introduced all the distortion, or was that right in the middle of it?
That was right in the middle of it.
Right in the middle of it? Thought so.
Yeah. And I think at that time, some of the human species was still at 12 strands, but overall, most were at 5. And some were at 3.
Now, was that done mechanically? I mean, I know the Anunnaki get a lot of credit for, our current genetic disposition, but was it the demiurge prior to, the Archonic forces? Was it all these things together?
It was after the Archonic influence came.
Okay.
You realigned the planet, or misaligned the planet,
right,
and destroy some of the primary energy structures on Earth. So those were in the Gobi Desert.
Gobi Desert, I've talked about the Gobi
Which
Desert.
was Uyghur, however you pronounce it, civilization.
So he says that the Uyghur, or the Uyghur civilization was at Gobi Desert. Now, I knew that there's a lot of hidden stuff that's underneath the Gobi Desert, and I shared this with Zachary Denman on his channel, and I told him that one of the earliest civilizations was there at the Gobi Desert, and there's tons of artifacts buried underneath there. But they just put this huge highway going all the way across the Gobi Desert. But there's a lot of hidden stuff there.
Which was a worldwide civilization at that
Worldwide
time.
civilization.
And it had a lot of huge, powerful pyramidic structures that are combined, all of them, underground to Israel. And to a vast energy structure that stretches from Israel, the Vatican, the Iran area where they bombed recently, a whole lot of things. And so they embedded a part of one of their home walls, a big chunk of it, in that area in Iran, that Trump blew that up. And another one in Alaska, up near Anchorage.
You hear that?
That's been
Alaska.
blown up, and they're in the process of trying to break into the administrator, the Golden Dome, which the extent.
So did you hear that? They're trying to break into the administrator in the Golden Dome. This as in Greenland, the North Pole. I told you, this is how you get to heaven. You get to the Celestial Mother is through that celestial gate. And that they are definitely trying to back hijack and get to heaven. Just like in the show Supernatural, where they're trying to hijack heaven's gate and take over heaven. This is exactly what they're doing.
They could not do. And then
The deep state couldn't do it. Why? Why? Because they don't have the frequency or the coding, right? Now a breeding program's starting to make more sense.
nukes were used on the civilization of the Sahara, and that's why you find green, what looks like green obsidian glass, which is a outcome of nuclear blast over a sanded area. It will create that. You also find that in the Gobi Desert. In the Gobi Desert, you have winds that blow up sarcophagi, as well as gold coins and many other, mummies and all kinds of things because of that civilization that's buried. But most all of the Sahara was actually a tropical rainforest at that time, and now it was, blasted to sand. And then they brought one of the two other solar systems that orbit our sun through. It used to come in such that its outer three planets of Helion, Argota, and Nebra, and its central sun of Nemesis, which is a brown dwarf, excuse me, would come through such that they would come in between Jupiter and Earth, behind Earth in its orbit. In other words, pass behind the sun in a 4.5-year trajectory and then go back out the same way. So it never would pass between us and the sun. But they caused it to do several things. They changed the orbit such that its outer planet collided. It actually had an eighth planet, Nebras the seventh, and it collided with the outside planet of our system, creating the Kuiper Belt. And then it came through and it collided with a planet that was between Mars and Jupiter called Tiamat and destroyed that. And the Earth at that time was a moon called Kingdom of Tiamat. That's where humans were. And we were displaced in Earth.
So Earth was the moon of Tiamat. And that's where humans were and were displaced into. See, they fell into these lower realms when their planets were destroyed. They were all refugees.
The current orbit relocated here. And then at that time, it caused the first misalignment, and then the pyramid wars was the part to finish it. But what caused the Earth to tilt on its axis, to misalign all the pyramids, so they couldn't be a ArtNet, a free energy system, a free worldwide communication system, and even within the pyramids themselves, what they say are sarcophagi, were actually a tonal device, so to speak, where through certain tonings of mantra, you could communicate and get a direct alignment with God and talk directly to God.
So isn't that interesting? Because I did a video quite a while back, where I was talking about these statues that are all over the earth, that they actually were used like intercom systems. And so Gene Decode is actually confirming that. The sarcophagi are actually tuning and getting a direct alignment with God. And that is very interesting.
The Ark of the Covenant is an item that had a mercy seat that you would sit, and it would do the same thing. One that you could carry, that they could do that. And so it misaligned the planet, so it tilted it a little over 23 degrees at a 72 year, 1 degree per 72 years. So that, so since every time it comes through, its poles align with ours, and light forces magnetically repel each other. So it causes the planet to push over, and then it rolls back, and it comes back. So, and it passes behind us at first, but it comes out from behind the sun, between the Earth and the sun. So there are pictures, and I already did this on my website, I did Deco on this, from south of the equator, as it's called, from down under, of a second sun at sunset with 2 or 3 planets also in the sky at the same time, and that was that pass-through. So, for those that keep saying Nebra's going to 3,600 year cycle, no, it's on a 25,920 year cycle. 3,600 year cycle.
26,000 years, almost like the precession of the equinox.
Planet of our system, just like when Tiamat broke up, there's a small remnant called Ceres that's in the asteroid belt.
CERES.
So there was a study called the Silver Strand in which they recomposed the trajectory of back in time of all of the asteroids in the asteroid belt and saw that it was a giant planet. And saw that Venus and the Earth used to be moons of it.
So did you just hear that? Venus and the Earth used to be moons of it. I knew that there was some kind of connection with the Earth and Venus. And there you have it.
And so that's the whole process, over a period of time that got the pyramids no longer working, that created the Gobi and the Sahara and put us down to 2 strands.
All right, I got 3 questions. One, is it that distortion that enables the veil, or is it that misalignment that empowers the distortion that we experience?
Yes.
Call it the matrix or whatever, but that overlay.
Yeah. Once the ArcNet was, call it that, people know what that is. It's not what it was
ArcNet.
called, obviously.
That's interesting, like
But
archetype, right?
once that came down, with the final destruction of the final big, huge pyramid complexes in the Gobi and in the Sahara, then they could overlay, an archonic overlay of fear and terror and subservience and worship of higher, occultic power, so to speak, and create a subspecies from humans that would worship them and do their bidding. Perfect. The mind gold for the Neberu, the Neberes, or the Anunnaki, which had originally been a good species, but then when the Alpha Draco bomb nuked them, they became a hybrid species under, like, the Stormtroopers, and they're partly Anunnaki still, but partly Draco.
See, there you go. That's who's running the world.
So,
Hybrid
the
Anunnaki
middle
Draco.
question, the Ark of the Covenant that Trump has at Mar-a-Lago, is that the real deal?
It's 1 of 4.
Yeah?
Hear that? Trump has an Ark of the Covenant.
One's there, and I'll let people figure out where the other 2 are.
So isn't that
All right,
interesting?
what's the technology?
If you don't
There's,
think that he's
there's a
ushering
mountain
in the
North Korea
apocalypse, you
that's
may be
volcanic.
wrong.
What is the technology underneath it, and is that the real reason why everybody's kept out of North Korea?
That's tied to the Golden Dome,
You hear that, folks?
to that system. So the Golden Dome,
Tartarians?
Isn't it?
yeah, it connects to things through wormholes, and it's clearing out the domes the same way now. That's why we went from 87% in a month to 90, which that's a lot of domes. A lot of domes. We say you went up 3% in 30 days, because what it's doing is it'll open up a portal, Einstein-Rosen bridge, and remove the good stuff. Remove all the technologies and the children or whatever that's good, and then it'll send a plasma ball into the dome, and it just makes a big, huge cavern. And that's back to how it was before they built the infrastructure. And the Alliance can come in and rebuild the whole place. It's all cleaned out. And if it's too much satanic energy, like what we're seeing on the northwest coast, it floods the place. And beyond that, it's near.
So, you know why we're getting floods down, guys? You tie on your red thread.
And make it rock again.
Now we provided Joe's question.
Okay, so Gene, please go into detail as much as you care to about what the heck has been going on with flooding in Washington State, and just so some of the viewers know. When you think of the big companies up here, you got your Boeing, your Microsoft, Amazon, you name it. There's more than that off the top of my head, but and then you've got Bill Gates lived on the water in the Puget Sound. You think of the submarines like, Epstein, etc., and those islands. Well, you've got Jay Inslee, you've got Whidbey Island, Bainbridge. So what are we seeing up here with these islands and these elite and the flooding and the weather? Please expand on that.
Well, because, it's tied to LA, to Hollywood and to Las Vegas. And there's maglevs and tunnels that go between all of that and where you are. And a lot of the stuff they're doing with children under Las Vegas, the satanic stuff, up where you are because of Bill Gates, they're doing other things, like they did in Atlantis, of chimeras,
So that's where all your cryptids are coming
crossbreeding.
from that are
crossbreeding,
stuck in
and
inversion.
combining with tech to make a new species, super soldier, AI, human being, or kind of creature. And so,
Like a Gene at the Northern Ranch, right?
yeah, exactly. So, and Epstein Island, and many of who's the guy that owns Virgin Airlines, like Richard Branson.
Richard Branson, right.
Right.
Yeah. So what they're doing is just so bad that it just has, cleaned them out, but it's so bad in there, you just gotta flood the thing and wash it out a few times, like they did in DC. They flooded it a few times to wash the mess out of there. It's so nasty that, it just makes you sick to your stomach. You can't go in there, so the special forces can't go in there, so they just flooding it and cleaning it out.
Water, the
Got
ultimate
it. I
purifier.
knew there was you're the first person I thought of when I started seeing all the rains up here. I'm like, this is not normal in any way, shape, or
Well,
form.
there you go,
So
guys.
and I don't think there was very few deaths, and yeah, there was houses washed away, but just
So does that explain the floods that we've been having? It's pretty interesting. So if you want to see Gene's channel, it's called Real Gene Decode on YouTube. It's worth a listen. He has a lot of valuable information. Thanks for watching Sacred Enzyme. Have a great day.